In this problem, we are asked to multiply fractions. And if you remember, when multiplying fractions, you multiply across the numerator and then you multiply across the denominator. However, in order to make this easier, we want to simplify each denominator and numerator of each fraction by factoring it to begin with. So let's look at the numerator of the first fraction to begin with. We can use the method of factoring by grouping. So we begin by rewriting this by splitting up the middle x term. So we're looking for two factors of -6 that would add up to a +1. And that would be a 3 and a -2. So we want to rewrite it as 2x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 3. And then do our factor by grouping. So we have a 2x squared plus 3x plus a -2x minus 3. And then we factor terms out of each grouping, so we can factor an x out of the first, and we are left with 2x plus 3 on the inside, and on the second one we'll factor out a -1 in order to also have a 2x plus 3 within the parentheses. So to finalize, we will have the quantity of x minus 1 times the quantity 2x plus 3. And this is our numerator for the first fraction. Now we want to factor the denominator. And to factor this, we're looking for two numbers that multiply to 1 that add up to a -2. And this will give us an x minus 1 and an x minus 1. And that is the denominator of the first fraction. So now our first fraction is complete, so now we want to go and look at the numerator of the second fraction. And what we can notice right away about this is that it is a difference of perfect squares. So we know we are left with a 3x plus 2 and a 3x minus 2. And that is how the numerator of the second fraction is factored. And then finally, we'll look at the denominator of the second fraction. And again, we can use the method of factoring by grouping. And so we begin by rewriting it. We're looking for factors of -36 that will add up to 5. So we know 9 and -4 will work. So when we rewrite this, we have a 6x squared plus 9x minus 4x minus 6. Now we group. So we have the quantity of 6x squared plus 9x plus the quantity of -4x minus 6. We want to factor out common terms, so we'll factor out a 3x from this first one. And we are left with 2x plus 3. And then on the second, we'll factor out a -2, and we are also left with a 2x plus 3. So to finalize, we have a 3x minus 2 times the quantity of 2x plus 3. Now let's set up our equation again with our new terms. So the numerator of the first fraction is here, so we have the quantity of x minus 1 times the quantity of 2x plus 3 divided by the quantity x minus 1 times the quantity of x minus 1. And this is all multiplied by our numerator of the quantity 3x plus 2 times the quantity 3x minus 2 divided by the quantity 3x minus 2 times the quantity 2x plus 3. Now, we know we are just multiplying across the numerator and across the denominator, and we can start looking at which terms can be divided out to 1. And we notice right away we have an x minus 1 in the numerator and an x minus 1 in the denominator. And we also see that we have a 3x minus 2 in the numerator and a 3x minus 2 in the denominator. So those can also divide out to 1. And then finally, we have a 2x plus 3 in the numerator and a 2x plus 3 in the denominator. So our final answer is the quantity 3x plus 2 all divided by x minus 1. So the final answer is A.